Hello everyone. Today we are going to start our next chapter of NCERT History Class 10th, The Making of a Global World. So let's get started and we'll start with understanding the heading of the chapter, The Making of a Global World. It means what the heading is trying to say. Let's understand this first. Just imagine long back when our ancestors used to live on these vast pieces of lands. If a person is residing here, just for example, would he be knowing about the land of Africa? Would he be knowing about the land of Americas? And what about Australia? So, if a person is residing here, obviously your answer would be no. He would not might be knowing about Africa, Australia, and America. Why? Because long back, when boats were not developed, when the waterways was not much developed, people used to travel on foot. And even if they traveled, at most they will reach the shores. And by reaching the shores, what all their eyes could see is nothing but vast water bodies. So they could not even imagine that such piece of land exists here, such piece of land is here, and some people are residing here as well. So when did these countries started integrating was when some explorers of ours, some great explorers discovered these pieces of land, like the Columbus discovered the Americas and our Vasco da Gama discovered the Indian subcontinent. So that's how various continents got to know about each other, that such piece of land also exists and some people are also living there. So that's what we'll be studying in this chapter, that how did the economies or how did these various large land pieces of lands and people got integrated with each other. Okay, so let's get started. The topics to be covered in this chapter are the pre-modern world. It means now you have a well-developed communication system, a well-developed transport system, so you can easily connect with each other. But what about the pre-modern world? It means when no such technology existed, when you didn't had phones, when you didn't had internet, nor you had trains, nor you had the facility of aeroplanes. What happened at that time? What was the condition of the pre-modern world that we'll be covering in this first part. Then you have the 19th century, that is the period from 1815 to 1914. Then we have the interwar economy. You might be knowing about both the world wars, World War I and World War II. So what was the economy of all the countries and how it got how the economies got affected collectively, that we'll be studying in this part. During the wars, this is during the wars, and the last part is the post-war era. It means what happened after the war. Now the war would have destroyed the economy of all the countries, so people need to rebuild that economy. So that's the post-war era. So how they rebuilt their economy, that we'll be studying in this last part of the chapter. Okay, so our first part is the pre-modern world. Okay, so the pre-modern world is again divided into 4 parts. First of all, we'll go through introduction. Then we have Silk routes, a very famous name you all might already be knowing about Silk routes. So how did they link the world? That we'll be studying in this part. Then you have food travels. It means what role did food play to connect people or to interconnect various continents. And at last you have conquest, disease and trade. Alright, so let's start with a small introduction of the chapter. That is a very important term, globalization. So what do you mean by globalization? I'll explain in short. Globalization is nothing but the integration or the interconnection, you can say, of various countries and their economies. Now just imagine if people from India, I'm talking about long back, when people of India got to know about this land. Just imagine, they got to know about this land, they would start traveling there, then they would start trading, then they will exchange their ideas, then finally their economies, the economy of Australia as well as the economy of India, both of them will get integrated, they will combine, they'll start exchanging goods, they'll start exchanging ideas. So this is globalization, right? This is globalization. Let's define it. Globalization is integrating economy of a country with the economies of other countries. So that's what I said. The economy of India is getting united or integrated with the economy of Australia. But what's the condition here? What's the condition here? You need free flow of trade, capital, and labor. It means there should be no restriction in this flow of trade, capital, and labor. Now, just imagine if Australia restricts the imports. If Australia says that we don't want any trade, we don't want to trade with you, we don't want any imports of your goods, then India would not be able to get integrated with Australia. Their economies won't get integrated. So this is the condition that you need free flow of trade, capital, and labor. There should be no restriction in this flow of trade, capital, and labor. Right? So this is globalization, and this is a question of 1 mark, as our chapter itself is the making of a global world. So globalization becomes a very important term. So globalization is your a 1 mark question. You can define globalization, and the definition is given here. Let's move forward. Yes, now you have such well developed technology that if you are sitting here, you can connect with this person, you can connect here, you can connect a person sitting here, you can connect with anyone sitting here, here. All over the world you can get interconnected by the help of your internet, or even now when we are attending you are accessing such videos, it means you are getting interconnected, you are getting linked to someone with such easy way. But what about long back? Now you are much well aware what's happening in America, what's happening in Britain, what's happening in Australia. You can get to know about everything very easily. But long back, people didn't even know that there's such piece of land. People also live here. Their life and their all their families, all their people were limited to this part only. For the people living here, their residence was limited till here. People residing here were limited to here. So in earlier times, people were not interconnected. So that we'll be studying, that how we actually got globalized. So from the 9th century, images of ships appeared regularly in the memorial stones found on the western coasts. So what happened? By the 9th century, historians have found some memorial stones where on the western coast. So western coasts are coast of Mumbai, Kerala, and Karnataka, right? So in that coast, some historians have found some memorial stones, and you know what's drawn on these stones? On these stones, these stones are of 9th century. Remember, it means long back. And historians have found some carvings of ships. You can see boats. People are boarded on these boats and they are traveling. So it means by 9th century, such system was developed. It means waterways was developed. People were traveling through waterways. So what this figure is trying to signify is that by 9th century, people had started traveling through ships. Okay. Now we have another topic of silk routes. Silk routes are very famous, you all might already be knowing, but still I'll give a short recapture to this term, silk routes. What are silk routes? The Chinese emperors used to trade silk. Silk actually started in the Chinese countries, or in China I can say. So silk routes were developed in China at the beginning, and the Chinese emperors or the traders used to carry this silk to various places, long places, and the route which they used to follow, the route that was followed by them to carry or to trade this silk were known as the silk routes. Okay, so the name silk routes points to the importance of westbound Chinese silk cargoes along this route. So the silk was used to carry through this route, but later other important goods also were travelled by this route itself. So silk routes become an important medium of linking the world. Silk routes helped a lot to interconnect the world. Historians have identified several silk routes over land and by sea. So it was not only by land, it was also by sea. It means silk was also being transported by sea, knitting together vast regions of Asia, linking Asia with Europe and North Africa. It means your silk routes were so widespread that they had connected Asia with Europe as well as Northern Africa. So it means your silk routes were really widespread. Then trade and culture always went hand in hand. This is very obvious that if a person is trading something or he's traveling anywhere, then he would be exchanging his culture, his ideas, his traditions, and what all food he's eating. Obviously, he'll be exchanging that ideas too, right? Then we have a figure of the silk routes. You can see that silk routes are emerging from Beijing. Beijing is the capital of China, right? So these silk routes are emerging from Beijing, and it extends till your Europe. It means from people from China to Europe were connected by this silk route itself, right? So silk route had a really very important role to play. So this was our silk routes, how the silk routes helped link the world. In the next part, we'll be covering food travels. It means what role did food play to connect people, and how did food got transported or reached various parts of the world. That we'll be covering in the next part of the chapter. So I'll see you in the next part. Till then, bye bye. Thank you.